Let's welcome Captain Salem to join us with his opening thoughts about the subject. Where does Fujairah need to travel, do you think, Captain, regarding the achieving of becoming a global energy trading hub? We clearly have a lot of hard infrastructure. What do you see as the next sort of priority, next steps?
Well, Sean, I believe, first of all, thank you for hosting me today and Happy New Year to all the audience. It's a pleasure to be participating today. I believe Fujairah started the transition from a global logistical hub to be a fully integrated energy hub that includes trading. Fujairah has multiple factors that is advancing the emirate transition to be among the other trading hubs of the world. And I would like to mention a few of them, starting with the location. As we all know, Fujairah is strategically located 70 nautical miles outside the Strait of Hormuz, which could contribute to the trade in many different aspects, such as safety, efficiency, running cost, and time savings for the trade. As you just mentioned, the infrastructure, the port of Fujairah has more than 12 jetties dedicated for oil handling, and the only VLCC jetty on the coast of the Indian Ocean, which serves a great value for the future of crude handling and trading. Second VLCC jetty could be added in relatively short time as all the preliminary infrastructure are in place. Storage-wise, which is a very key ingredient for any energy or trading hub of the world. Storage-wise, as you know, FOIZ hosts the Middle East largest commercial storage capacity for refined oil product, which is a key element for trading. Again, one important element we've been focusing on is the transparency. Since 2017, we are publishing weekly market information in partnership with S&P Global Platts, which helps market participants to better understand the market trends of Fujairah. I see that on the technology front, we are utilizing the latest available technology for us, which is the blockchain technology, for sharing the inventory data to the public to ensure accuracy, integrity, and credibility of the data. Again, volumes and trade, once more, we have a good mix of active trading companies that includes Aramco, Vitol, ADNOC, ENOC, and other IOCs. All in all, in my opinion, we are seeing and expecting 2021 to be a year of continued growth for Fujairah and the market. Needless to mention the latest announcement of the Murban oil futures contracts and what it means for Fujairah per se. The agreement between Port of Fujairah and Abu Dhabi ports to further enhance the emirate capabilities and container trade, as well as adding to that Ittihad Rail, all of which I consider as a very healthy indicators of the organic growth of the area. So, well, in summary, this is how I see us going 2021 and beyond.
It's certainly a significant journey being made, and the outlook, as you mentioned, for the year ahead. We had the earlier session with ADNOC and the ICE exchange, which is obviously a big factor for Fujairah, given that the physical settlement of the Murban contract will be in Fujairah. Let's bring in Lars Liebig of Uniper Energy. Lars, your thoughts on the topic, outlook for Fujairah. Clearly the physical infrastructure is substantial and has been significant, and you have been with Uniper Energy a big part of that. What is the next steps, do you think, that in order to emerge again to that sort of global stature of Singapore, Rotterdam?
Yeah, thanks, Sean, for having me, and Happy New Year to everybody. I think all the points Captain Salem mentioned, of course, they're right. But I would like to point on one specific topic which is relevant in Fujairah, and that's our experience, how we came here and how we have been growing over the years. Remember, we came 2015 with a different business case. So our plan was to install a refinery here to produce 0.1% straight run fuel oil and then serve the SECA market in Singapore and in Europe from here. At that time, it wasn't clear that the 0.5% would be introduced January 2020. It was 25 in discussion, or even not coming at all. Of course, we were hoping for it, but it wasn't clear at this stage. So when we came, we had to design our requirements in terms of tankage and infrastructure to this 0.1 business case. And then when it became clear IMO 0.5 will come, we had to adjust. And we, towards 2020, we saw already then demand rising for our products. And we have more than tripled, I think, the volume from 2018 to 19. And again, we have doubled it from 2019 to 2020. So we had a tremendous growth, and we have been selling in 2020 more than 5 million tons, and most of that in Fujairah. And
on that point, did 2020, given the global pandemic and everything, did it act as any kind of a derailing of Fujairah's progression, or did it indeed do the opposite and sort of bring it into its own in some regards under this moment of stress?
Yeah, let me come to this. What I wanted to point out is the growth we have been going through was, in my view, only possible in that short period of time because of the specific setup Fujairah has in terms of interconnectivity between terminals. We were able to contract extra storage in different terminals, and we have been operating out of 3, sometimes 4 different terminals, and we can see it as one side of operation, which makes it easy for us to adjust, scale up or down, depending on market needs. And that is a specific advantage Fujairah has, in my view. Imagine we had built that refinery in an onshore terminal in Singapore, and then we have put a specific amount of tanks in place, and then quickly want to scale up. You can't have new build ready in a few months. It takes years. So the only option is then to contract in other terminals and have cross-border shipments, which are costly. So in the long run, you have to build your facility according to your needs. Whereas in Fujairah, it's a lot more flexible to scale on short notice. So I think that has benefited us a lot, and ultimately also Fujairah port and all the customers we are serving, because it meant a smooth transition into IMO at competitive price levels. So I think that is an important step, and that is something Fujairah, in my view, has to maintain, and I'm sure will maintain and build upon. And that is going forward, probably also the recipe for the future when we talk about potentially new products coming in over the time. I mean, Rob correctly mentioned biofuels will play a role, in my view. And also hydrogen for sure. It's not a short-term thing, but it will come. And I think Fujairah needs to think about how to establish itself in a similar way as it did for conventional oil for those new products. And I think every other aspect, Captain Salem mentioned, the geographical location, of course, is very good. So I think there are a lot of ingredients which are which will help Fujairah grow even further. And one other, just a quick remark, one other, I think very important, experience we had was around permitting. I mean, if you put an investment down in a certain location, permitting plays a massive role, and that has been also tremendously well managed from all sides. So putting an investment requires, relatively easy or straightforward permitting processes, and also a geographical security and stability. And that, of course, is also something which we have experienced so far, despite, some interruptions we have all experienced over the years. But I think Fujairah has shown, it can be recognized as a very stable port and operations hub.
And very customer focused, I'd have to say, in that respect. Let's bring in the survey question 2 before getting Captain Mousa's thoughts on the topic. Survey question 2 sets up for Captain Mousa. What is more important as a priority next step for Fujairah to emerge as a global energy trading hub? Expand the soft infrastructure or expand the hard infrastructure? Next step. So really obviously all of the above is certainly the thing, but from a point of view of what you think is the priority, We've got a next step. As we know, ADNOC is building 42 million barrel storage of crude oil caverns in the mountains of Fujairah. The port has obviously in the recent years given us a VLCC jetty and so forth. But what is the more important as priority next step for Fujairah? Soft infrastructure or hard? Welcome your views on that, and we will ask Captain Mousa. Welcome your thoughts on that question, and also coming out of 2020, a great challenge faced by the port of Fujairah. Everything seemed to go relatively well. What do you take away from 2020? What did you learn about your systems and operations?
Thank you, Sean. I think most of the things they already spoke in Salem and Lars about it, and Robert about Fujairah, but let me to focus what is the ministry focusing on. This is where I am planned always my future in Fujairah. When His Excellency Suhail mentioned that they're going to continue OPEC plus, that is sort of for me is sort of advantage. We hope that is also the plus one will join at the OPEC. As the strong as OPEC plus, as a strong, we provide a facility at Fujairah. Second thing, also when Salmin mentioned the good thing that is Marban, they are not the only one they're dealing with their customer. 7 of the customer, and they're going to benchmark Morad and Fujairah. That is also a good news for me. That means the customer, their customer, they should lease a tank here, or they can build. We are going to build in it. So your question, I can do both in soft and also in the hard. What I mean in hard, we know it's a lot of studies now is going on in ADNOC on the trading their crude, and then the same thing, their project with their partner, and then they're going to utilize the land they used to have with Liebig. A lot of study they're doing how they're going to utilize that land at the trading, and the same time they're looking seriously on the study and the feed, how they can transfer all the way products from Ruwais to Fujairah. Is it by ships? Is it by a pipeline? All these things putting a pressure on me. What can I do with the jetty? When I going to add, how many jetty I go to add? Do I need to add VCC? We are asking them now to what the capacity you're going to add to Fujairah. If they answer me this, then I can build, because I don't want also to disturb my customer. This is the main thing for me. The customer that is
in terms of ADNOC's connectivity with the port and the manifold system, has that been connected to the ADNOC storage and the manifold system? Is that being constructed?
This is a good question. Yes, they already started connected, and they call it fast track. And hopefully by September, October, they're going to join the MM1. If they join the Matrix 1, then they have a freedom to join OJDT plus the VLCC. This is where the advantage of Fujairah, we are luckily sharing the risk. This is where we're sharing the risk with our partner. And we're going to continue sharing that by building jetties and adding more infrastructure, and then they are building tanks as the demands require. So the advantage of Fujairah is sharing the risk with their customer.
What about the soft infrastructure that's in that question? Inevitably, as Captain Salem mentioned, a few years ago, there was the publishing. You started to publish the weekly inventory data every Wednesday. It's published on S&P Global Platts. But what other data points can come forward, will come forward?
I think that we already have several meetings with Platts, with Captain Salem. And the next one is going to be the bunkering. The bunkering statistic is going to be also produced by January, February this year, plus whichever is will benefit our customer, global customer. So this is going to be by end of this month or beginning of February, going to be established at bunkering, plus some information that could be benefit for our customer.
So that will be bunkering data weekly,
That's-
monthly, how often?
This is the scenario we're talking with it. This is going
Okay.
to be monthly or weekly, which is one
Something.
something.
But
That-
it's coming, which is obviously very positive for the
That's
market.
right.
Let's get the result of that survey question before bringing Robert back into the conversation. What is more important as a priority next step for Fujairah to emerge, expand the soft infrastructure of the 200 people logged in? That's 55% are saying expand the soft infrastructure. Of course, hard is always important, but we all need to do better on soft right across the region. Rob, your responsibility now as the WISE Award winner and have joined the echelons of that exclusive group. What's Fujairah's next big idea, do you think? We've talked about LNG over the years. We've talked about the idea of a refinery. Obviously, we have now the Morad contract coming and the settlement in Fujairah. But what, as a person who's been there for a very long time, instrumental, you and Chris Bake, probably, it's hard to pick two other people that have partnered with Captain Mousa and Captain Salem and their colleagues from the international community. What's the next big idea, do you think, that Fujairah should be thinking about?
Well, Sean, firstly, it is true. I've been there a long time with Chris, but I think what we have been able to do, and that obviously Vitol and Uniper have made some bold investments in Fujairah over time. I think from an infrastructure perspective, Fujairah is really a great port. They have done a lot of development over the years. They have done a lot of upfront, ahead of the pack investments in infrastructure, in the marine side, in the manifold. But for me, I think the challenge that we all face is that we need to find ways to stay as efficient as we can in the port together. And you can't do that as one single party. You need to do that hand in hand with FOIZ, with the port and all the partners, because Fujairah is not an entity in its own. It's competing against other countries in the region. We need to be very diligent that we keep this port as flexible and as efficient as we can, and look at what is the next step. And to that question, I think the things that we need to jointly look at is, what do we do if indeed Fujairah becomes a global trading hub? Then you attract a lot of other interest from financial parties, as an example, and they look at different metrics. They don't only look at trade, they look also at sustainability. They look at how you run your ports in terms of emission controls, in terms of solar alternative energy sources. And I think that is still a little bit in the early days of development. And I think that is one of the things that together we need to look at in Fujairah, how we can progress investments in that. And yes, there's hydrogen out there, but hydrogen for me is a little bit out still. But for all the parties in Fujairah, in order to get that, to understand it and get a grip on it, on the impact, we need to start working on it now. And that is something, for me, it's an invitation to look at, and I do that with my management team in Fujairah, but also with Captain Mousa and Captain Salem to look at the future as well.
Rob, what do you think is missing in the jigsaw puzzle that would be sufficient, would create the incentive to bring LNG into the mix? It's been looked at a number of times. What do you think is the missing piece that makes that viable?
Sean, at the time when we looked at it, we just couldn't make the numbers work. It was, and maybe it was the wrong time. And we should do it again, the exercise, but we just couldn't make the numbers work from a bunkering perspective. And right. I think from an infrastructure point of view, at the time, it was also where do you get your LNG vessels landed? Because that was a challenge, I think, Captain Mousa at the time for the port. So if you want to do that, you need to probably do that at a different location. And that investment is quite significant then to accommodate LNG vessels into Fujairah.
Captain Salem, your thoughts on that in terms of the next big idea? I mean, you're very blessed in Fujairah to have pretty wise leadership with His Royal Highness. The next big idea, you've got some big land, still some spots there. You obviously have the ADNOC crude oil storage coming online in the next year or two. That is 42 million barrels of extra crude oil storage in Fujairah. Is the future of Fujairah crude oil rather than products?
I think Fujairah is going, like the first evolution of Fujairah was, we started as a bunkering port. Captain Mousa and Rob, who's been here long before me, I think they can help me out. We started as a small bunkering port. That has grew over time. We are classified among the 3 top bunkering ports of the world, if not the second. After that, we started developing the storage side. Not necessarily, because bunkering today is 10% out of what we do in Fujairah. Many people, label Fujairah as a bunkering port. Yes, it is, but it is above and more. It's a, it's a storage area and logistical area. So that was, I would say, the second evolution of Fujairah. And I think the third one is coming in terms of a crude and diversification. I agree with Rob. We've been looking at LNG. We've been looking at LPGs. We've been looking at a different type of, possible or potential future marine fuels to be supplied to the ships. In a hard infrastructure perspective, I believe the government been doing a really good job staying ahead of the market. And a classic example would be, the VLCC jetty, which it's in a similar context as the Uniper investment in their refinery for the IMO 2020. If I would draw, a similarity there. Soft infrastructure is very much important. It's very much required. We've been working on it. We have different plans. Some of them being shared by Captain Mousa, which is adding new data sets to the existing portfolio of inventory data. We'll see how that materializes. All in all, I think it's a balanced approach between developing the hard infrastructure and the soft infrastructure. I would like to pick up on a point said by Robert as well. The efficiency of the port. Again, I believe as efficiency, we've been doing a really good job in Port of Fujairah and in Fujairah in general. The terminals are really performing, sharing a communal infrastructure between 16 different terminals or 15 different terminals. We have a very, I would say, market conform, if not a strict KPIs that need to be complied to maintain the attractiveness of Port of Fujairah for traders to keep visiting and further enhance their business.
I was just going to bring up the last survey question before bringing Lars into that comment. The last survey question is addressing this issue of crude oil. With the construction of ADNOC's 42 million barrel storage cavern, Fujairah is set to become the biggest crude oil storage hub east of Suez. Agree or disagree? We had earlier in the Asia section of the forum today, Singapore essentially saying, we're out of the crude oil storage business. So is this going to be a game changer for establishing Fujairah as the center of crude oil storage east of Suez, commercial storage? Lars, one of the important parts of any ecosystem evolving, and Fujairah no exception, is that the existing residents, the existing corporates operating there, grow their footprint, grow their activities. And from the point of view of Uniper Energy, how do you see that in terms of, obviously you've had some very, you were visionary 5 years ago at 0.5, 0.1 before the IMO was really on anybody's radar. What do you think can be, or is there a growth that you see as part of that ecosystem?
Well, I mean, we talked about different products which might get into demand over the years, and I think Rob also said it's a bit too early to really say what is the silver bullet at this point. It will be. But
somebody's going to have to take the bite of the cherry, right? Like you guys have done in the past.
Oh, and I think it has to be a mix, and some people will have to invest in, let's say, more hydrogen-based projects, and some others might choose something else, or maybe LNG, and maybe that is the recipe for Fujairah as a hub, to have this type of diversification, that you find not only one product or trading business, but you have multiple anchors, if you want. Whatever we do in Fujairah will mean a tremendous amount of investments for sure. Going away from conventional oil into alternatives, of course, will cost a lot of money, and none of those is really in the money, obviously, at this stage. So it will have to mean, you have to risk some investments, as we did also, right? And for some, it will pay off, and I'm sure it will in the long run. And I think, we have seen so many, over the last 2 years, so much talking about all these different products, hydrogen, ammonia, methanol, green, blue methanol, and all of that. We are at a stage, I think, where it's about to sit together and really go through how those projects can be realized. And I'm sure it's already happening within Uniper. We have several projects, kickoff projects on this way. And I think in Fujairah it will happen soon as well. People will come together because some of those investments are just too big for just one entity to handle. I think it will be a combination of joint efforts really to make it work. But it doesn't need to be only, one project. It can be multiples, and I think that might be also the benefit in the long run.
Well, we have as our partner in terms of the Aramco Trading Awards, Aramco Trading, part of the world's biggest oil company, now has set up the first trading desk in Fujairah with something to close to, I think, up to 30 traders, but capacity there. Captain Mousa, looking very specifically at the year ahead, we're in January. You mentioned some soft data points maybe coming in February on bunkering. We have the Murban contract in March and the launch of that, and will bring attention to Fujairah. We also have the recent announcement in the last week of the rapprochement with our neighbor Qatar. And of course, when that happened a few years ago, that was a big hit on your business because Qatar and the shipping was a big customer of yours. How does that look for you? Is that potentially bring back trade for the ports in terms of your marine services?
Of course, that is good news for all the sea country. This conflict for Fujairah, definitely when Qatarian LNG ships left here, we lost about 20%. So the 20% bunkering definitely will come back to Fujairah, and they started actually inquiring. Plus, the aggregate business already started stamping in. So that is good news for us. But let me to speak about what also Lars spoke about, the LNG. LNG, we talked a long time about LNG, so it's a sort of opportunity, but it's sort of going to be a win-win situation. Today in Fujairah, we're not looking at the offshore business LNG, we're looking for something permanent. To do a permanent, if the company itself cannot do it, they can't work as a partner together with the ADNOC, with the VTTI, WOBAC, how they can make a consortium between them and serve the emirate of Fujairah, the company that is available in Fujairah, cement factory, and then part of it is going to be bunkering, and we don't know what will happen in the bunkering. Is going to be bunkering as LNG, or is going to be hydrogen? Anything within the 5 years or 10 years could change. But the next step for us is the crude. Definitely, this is what we are aiming, the crude. So the project is, we have more than enough. So that's why I'm always repeating, we don't want to disturb our people. We can add small, but focus on us, the crude. And when ADNOC adding the 42, definitely we're going to be #1 storage in the world. We reach about 70 million. 70 million, automatically they keep you #1 storage on the world. But the things we require from our people also, not from our side, from Arab people, that we are, and Aramco and ADNOC, to help us in benchmark the projects. So we are proud that they already benchmarked Marmon the crude, but also the quantity that we have in Fujairah. But we need with their assistance to help us in benchmarking Fujairah in place of using other people. This is what is my aim.
Yeah, that's a part of the soft infrastructure, the
right.
transparency that would support the creation of a Middle East fuel oil products benchmark off of Fujairah. Let's bring up the survey result and give Captain Salem the last word. There's a whopping way to close out, Captain. If you were wondering what's your next direction, it seems certainly crude oil is a big part of it. Your closing thoughts, Captain, and particularly in the year ahead, where things should go. Hopefully
Thank
will
you.
go.
Thank you, Sean. I think the results are very obvious. We see more interest and focus on crude. ADNOC being the main player here in Fujairah and with their ongoing project of the 42 million barrels. Adding to that, as you mentioned, rightly mentioned, we see as well increase the start or an increased importance of Fujairah to be a place of a trade. A classic example is Aramco opening their second global office here in Fujairah. That comes with, hopefully a good future and potential in the future. We have the VTOLs; they are very active in here. For the year ahead, I think again we will see some more crude projects happening here in Fujairah, aside of what is existing or underbuilt. We've been discussing this with our customers. We are looking for, I joined my hands with Captain Mousa, maybe we can do some more trades going through Fujairah, more volumes going through Fujairah. That will advance our journey to be, a global trading hub or a trading hub of the world. Yeah. Adding to that, I think, the pricing, the individual prices assessment has been out for some time. So again, without the support of our NOCs and the IOCs and different trading houses that are actually trading and storing within Fujairah, without their support and actually start utilizing those numbers, I think we will take a longer time without them. So we do urge and ask for their support in this matter, because it will benefit.
And in that regard, you're talking about the Fujairah price assessments for fuel oil, yeah.
So I would like to leave the audience with these thoughts.
Yes. Well, I will wrap up and say we will all reconvene on October 5th, inshallah, in Fujairah for the return of the annual Energy Markets Forum, the Gulf Intelligence Energy Markets Forum, the 10th one. This is the 11th UAE Energy Forum that we do in Abu Dhabi. But of course, Fujairah Forum every year in the fourth quarter, early October 5th. Mark your calendar. Vaccine allowing, we will all be there. Robert, thank you so much. And again, congratulations. Lars, thank you very much for joining us. Captain Salem and Captain Mousa, congratulations on all your achievements in Fujairah and continue the great work. I'm sure 2021 will be a breakthrough year for Fujairah.